In my playbook tonight, the $20 billion account BP set up to compensate oil spill victims is up and running. Today, Administrator Ken Feinberg took control of the fund and began accepting claims. But if you want him to give up a lump sum, you're going to have to give up to waive your right to sue BP. Now, I got to be honest with you here. I don't trust this whole scenario the way it's playing out. We don't know the full extent of damages from the worst oil spill in history. We've been sold a commercial package. It's unbelievable. So it makes no sense to make folks give up their right to a future lawsuit when we don't even know what the damages are. Let me bring in Jeffrey Breit. He is an attorney representing more than 600 shrimpers, oystermen, and crabbers down in that region. Mr. Breit, a town hall meeting today, a lady stood up and said, after listening to Mr. Feinberg, said, Linda St. Martin said, I don't trust him. I think he's a very honorable man, but I think that he's boxed in by these very narrow prescribed limitations. Would that be a pretty good snapshot of what you heard today?
Well, I'm a little bit worried about what we're going to see at the end of this year, at the beginning of next year. But the interim payments that started today is a different scenario altogether. If he wants to help out those people in the Gulf who need the help, and there are thousands of them, fine. But if you want people to give up their right to sue BP, give up your right to sue Transocean and Halliburton, that's a whole nother story. I don't think that's going to happen in the long run. Right now, the final plan isn't in shape yet, but the interim payment plans have started. Okay, the interim payment plans have started. But we were told by many politicians that people were going to be made whole, that businesses were going to be made whole. Do you feel confident that we're on that road? I don't think that's going to happen except for a certain number of people. The geographic limitations by the interim plan is going to make it very, very difficult for businesses to get interim payments. They're going to have to go into the court system. The court system is not going to be as easy as we would like it to be because the law to help people like BP is pretty tough. And so I think that the people outside the closeness to the Gulf are going to have real problems. Mr. Breit, do you get a sense that Mr. Feinberg is going to make sure it doesn't go a dime over $20 billion or even get to that number? Well, that's going to be interesting to see because the fund is actually a $5 billion a year fund, and they're getting the money from their oil leases in the Gulf. And so it's not from their assets, it's actually from the income they're going to make by continuing their drilling, which is a problem in and of itself. I would think that if the laws are as expansive as we would like them to be, we'll get to the $20 billion just because of the damage to the states of Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, Alabama. But for the individuals, I think it's going to be a much harder road. Is it hard for you to tell your clients to be patient on one hand and not give up their right to sue when they're being bombarded with a PR campaign that everything's going to be okay and they've cleaned up 75% of it? Well, my clients know that they haven't cleaned up 75% of it. I'm flying down to New Orleans this week. I'm meeting with all 600 of my clients on Saturday just because this PR campaign has made them all very nervous about what they're supposed to do. Do we have a case? Should we give up our case? I'm not giving up our cases, and I'm not going to tell anyone else to do it. But I am hoping Feinberg's actions will speak at least as loud as his words. Mr. Breit, good to have you with us tonight. We'll stay on the story as always. Final pages of the playbook tonight. Brad Pitt would consider the death penalty for whoever was at fault for the Deepwater Horizon disaster. In Spike Lee's new HBO documentary about New Orleans, Pitt says, quote, I was never for the death penalty before, but I'm willing to look at it again. Pitt and Angelina Jolie own a home in New Orleans and have been very involved in rebuilding the city after Katrina. And 9 months after his infamous